calls right now.
You brothers calling? All right, we're recording already because we're just going to jump right into it. All right, guys, it's fucking football season. And in honor of that, Johnny and I wanted to play a little video for you guys that we think is pretty poignant. What's this guy's name? Bill Cooper?
William Cooper.
William Cooper?
Was, just so it's known, he was like a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, but this is still like a poignant
Yeah.
point that he makes. And he wrote, what did he write, the book Behold a Pale Horse?
He was kind of like the OG Alex Jones.
Okay. Oh, yeah, and didn't you say that he like kind of called out?
He called Alex Jones a shill.
For like corporations.
And this guy was killed by the FBI,
shit.
so it's a little interesting.
How'd they kill him?
Shot him.
Just,
I mean,
is that
weird.
a conspiracy? But like, you think it's probably legit?
I mean, who knows? I honestly don't know.
All right, so this guy is William Cooper. He's kind of like an old school Alex Jones. Definitely a conspiracy theorist, but he was just like with Alex Jones calling out some real shit. This guy called out some real shit. And in honor of football season starting up, I think that this is a video that's pretty poignant and worth playing. So we're just going to go ahead and start the show with this, guys.
Today either. Oh, of course not. All the media in this country, radio, television, and print, is all owned by 5 corporations. All of these corporations that own the media are owned and controlled, and members of the Council on Foreign Relations sit on the board of directors. Remember, if you go down and you trace the ownership of a station or a newspaper, and you get to a corporation, remember that somebody owns that corporation, and it's usually another corporation. But when you trace the interlocking of all these things, when you get to the top, there's 5. And all journalists know that there's some things you don't write about and you don't talk about because you'll lose your job. And that's where the control is. And that's why they pay anchormen like Dan Rather $2 million a year. Because he doesn't question them. He knows that if he goes against them, he's going to lose $2 million a year. Do you think a man that looks pretty and sits in front of a TV camera for the 6 o'clock news is worth $2 million a year?
Yes.
No way. I don't care how long he works and I don't care what he does. There is no job worth $2 million a year. That's why they pay athletes these fantastic salaries. I was listening to the radio the other day. They just contracted to pay one player on one team $6 million a year.
Which is like,
can you believe this?
No.
And why is that?
This is like in the 90s.
It's the Roman circus. What does the emperor do when the people become restive, and when the people are asking questions, and when the people don't like the policies of the emperor? He sends them to the circus. He creates a circus. He builds a giant coliseum. And he begins to throw the Christians to the lions. And he has great chariot races and football games and basketball games, all to keep the idiots preoccupied with things that don't mean anything in the scheme of the entire world, so that they don't have the time to learn what the truth is, so they don't ever get smart enough to learn how they're being manipulated, so they don't ever question the emperor. That's why they pay a player on a football team or a baseball team $1 million or $2 million or $3 million a year. It is the Roman circus. I know men who don't know anything in the world except who plays third base for the Mets. And they think that's a great accomplishment. And they meet and pat each other on the back and bond and go have cocktails and talk about what this guy that plays third base for the Mets did in last night's game. It's sad. It's really sad.
Is there any room in a kind of society where these manipulations are not taking place for this type of entertainment or any type of entertainment at all?
If people understand that a game is a game, if people understand that nobody, no matter what they do, is worth paying $2 or $3 million a year for, people should be able to get rich if they want to, by the sweat of their individual labor. Okay? By going out and doing something for the world.
With that phone ringing in the background, I'm like...
Not by taking people's minds away from the emperor. It's a game. Football's a game. Football's a game. But let me tell you something. When 150 of the most powerful men and women in the world can meet in secret in Baden-Baden, Germany, and plot the fate of billions, and nobody even cares about it. But 6 football players go to lunch together, and it's in the headlines across the country. You have a reflection of the society in which that exists. And it is a sick society that is doomed to self-destruction.
So based on that scenario, there's some truth into what these men are looking
Anyway,
at.
I think that's probably good.
Yeah, it drags on a little bit.
Yeah, I just wanted to hear that last
Just a
part.
little
A
condensed.
sick society doomed to fail. Now, I think that guy's spot on. And that's something we've even kind of talked about on this podcast before, is the parallels between the rise and fall of the United States as a global hegemon. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, man? Like, when you're listening to that, what comes to your mind? Like, what do you fucking feel?
Well, I'm assuming when he talks about like 100 something of the world's richest people,
Yeah.
it's like the Bilderberg meeting. I'm
Yeah.
assuming.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what they called it in the 90s though, but
Yeah. And, well, here's the thing. I know that guy's a conspiracy theorist, and he's kind of talking... It sounds like a big conspiracy, you know, like Bilderbergs or like Illuminati or fucking Freemasons or whatever. But, and, you know, yeah, that shit sounds really fantastical, and maybe they're not doing all this like hooded cult meetings and sacrificing babies and shit. But the fact of the matter is that there is still a handful of men, and probably some women on this planet, that own everything.
let's be honest, they probably are wearing hoods and
Yeah,
sacrificing.
I mean, dude, yeah, I mean, when you see all this weird child trafficking shit, and you hear things about like Epstein and fucking who the fuck, Bill Clinton on that plane, there's this whole web of interconnected like
the
weird.
prince and one of the princes.
John Podesta, what prince?
One of the princes from the UK, like the royal family, was deeply connected to Epstein.
Yeah,
Like good friends with him.
yeah.
Like even after Epstein got caught.
I'm not
originally.
surprised. Yeah, you look and then you even look at like U.S. politics. You know, you can see pictures of like Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump like all together, and they're all one. It's like George Carlin said, you know, it's all one big club. And the fact of the matter is, like, these people are meeting in secret. You could call it, I mean, and sometimes in public, like the G8 summit and stuff. But there's these rich people who all have the same vested interests in large-scale agriculture and mining and manufacturing and now in big tech and stuff, and they all come together because they realize, like, as big business, as capital, we have similar stakes in this. We have similar interests. And so, I mean, yeah, they sit there, and then they come up with all these fucking plans of, like, okay, we're gonna, you know, have this coup in the Congo and, like, stir up the Congolese so that there's no political infrastructure there, so we can come in and mine diamonds and gold and cobalt and shit.
Well, I mean, Richard Nixon, in his book, I believe, said one of his greatest speeches was given at Bohemian Grove, which is like another secret
Really?
thing.
Yeah. I didn't realize that. Well, I mean, I've heard of Bohemian Grove, but I didn't know he wrote a book about it.
He didn't write it just about Bohemian
But it
Grove,
just came
but
up.
it was like, yeah.
And here's the thing. Back when he probably wrote that, I'm guessing probably in the 80s,
Probably. I don't
nobody
know exactly.
knew what that was and just thought maybe it was some sort of political thing that happens, you know? It's probably just,
Which it is,
okay.
officially. You know?
Yeah, but it's some weird-ass shit, dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, these people are up to no good, man, and it's fucking, they own everything, and they own the political process, and they wrap it up in this pretty democratic guise, like wrapping paper, to make it look like everybody still has rights and stuff. But the way that they've bought the politicians and they've tweaked the system so that it suits big, you know, there's just all these things that make it so that, yes, we have a democracy, but really, they've got that machinery so oiled for their interests that there's not a lot you can do. The only way you can really change things is if you have full-scale sit-down strikes, protests, nobody going to their job.
Like what GM's doing.
Yeah, like what's going on in GM, and we'll get into that. But before we get in there a little bit farther, we'll do our little intro here. Just want to welcome everybody to another episode of the Here We Are podcast. This is episode number 12. You know, Johnny, it's pretty cool that we're on episode 12, man. Like, I was reading this thing, a lot of people that start podcasting, they drop out on like their 9th or 10th episode,
Really?
and then they never pick it up again. So we're past that hump. We're past the first hump. So that's pretty cool. I want to apologize to everybody for not getting an episode out last week. I've had a lot of things going on in my personal life, a lot of shifts, just a lot of things that have had to be done, some damage control and everything. But I am going to try to get us back on a week-to-week schedule again for you guys. If you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe, and share. You know, we're in the early stages of our channel, so anything you guys can do to help us, I seriously appreciate it. Our goal, we're at 215 subscribers now, and we're seeing steady growth. And I think if we keep up at this rate and with your guys' help, we can make it to our goal of 1,000 in the first year. So if you want to further support the podcast, subscribe to the Patreon at patreon.com/double_D. There you can access all of my written work, including poetry, flash fiction, and full-length short stories, all for less than what you spend on a cup of coffee every day. To further support the podcast, check out Bingley's Teas at janeaustinteas.com. There you can find high-end teas handpicked and mixed by the lovely Miss Julia to satisfy that deep tea addiction. Or visit Julia in person at 118 East 26th Street, suite number 208, to be taken on a tea tour of the world. All right, Johnny, here we are. So we are doing another free ball episode. I got some talking points we're going to try to hit, but God, dude, my work ethic, since I just haven't been at that job, dude, it's almost like my work ethic has like
Plummeted or gone up?
Yeah, like plummeted. Like it's kind of like, I mean, you know how hard I've been going recently, like between working the night shift, I've had a custody thing going on, taking care of Emerson, trying to get this podcast off the ground, writing, just doing. It's like almost now that I'm not working at that place, shit's like hit me. Like, dude, you're fucking burnt out.
Yeah.
You know, like I wanted to write out the show last night, and I was like, I'm just going to watch The Strain instead. And eat burritos and shit, because I'm just fucking
burritos and shit.
Yeah, like, and I just been, man, I'm whipped. And then, you know, it's another busy day today.
At least you'll have that trip for in Colorado.
Yeah, we got to go to this wedding and stuff. I wish we didn't have to go. I'm gonna try to make the best out of it, but yeah, I'm going to this wedding. Get back on Sunday. I'll try to get this uploaded, and then Monday morning, early as fuck, of course, gonna head to Colorado. And I'm super excited, dude. I haven't had a vacation, like a legitimate vacation, since I went to Florida with Austin when I was like 17.
Yeah, that was like 10 years ago, pretty much.
10 years, yeah.
Almost, yeah.
Yeah, it was 10 years. So despite all these things going on, there's some pressures on me and some worries. I'm going to go out there, and I'm going to fucking have a good time. I'm going to go see Greta Van Fleet, fucking do a bunch of hiking. I think we're going to the highest peak in the United States.
Really?
Going to do some hiking there, yeah. And then we're going to go to like this nude hot springs, which I'm like looking forward to the most because I love water, like hot water baths.
You're probably going to get out of breath way easy when you're
So I heard. That's why I've been trying to run the hills in Lime Creek and stuff, is just to get my cardio up a little bit. But yeah, man, I'm stoked. So before I interrupted with our little fucking announcements and shit, what were we talking about? Oh, we were kind of transitioning into the GM protests and shit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ford, Fiat, Chrysler workers call for an all-out strike alongside GM workers. So have you been following this very much at all?
Honestly, not as much as I probably should be.
Dude, we are so unprepared anymore, guys. We fucking apologize. We'll get better at this as things go on, but I want to kind of see what's going on with that. Oh, man.
Yeah,
so what,
I do know that like GM is like cutting their healthcare.
Yeah.
And they have, what do they call those, scabs? What do they call people who come into work while the actual
scabs?
Yeah, they have them coming in.
Oh, come on, ad blocker, you little bitch. Yeah, so do you have any idea, like, okay, here, maybe this will tell us. It's kind of funny, we do a podcast, like, talking about the news, and then we just, the last couple episodes, we've just, like, okay, let's see what's going on in the news. So it looks like this is...
Over 50,000 workers.
Oh, this is NPR, so... Nearly 50,000 General Motors employees with the United Auto Workers Union went on strike Sunday. This is September 20th, 2019. The decision to strike came Sunday morning after the collective bargaining agreement from 2015 expired. The union is calling for the Detroit automaker to properly recognize everything their members have done and sacrificed to make a healthy, profitable auto industry. Last year, GM announced that the Detroit Hamtramck plant would close down in January 2020. This came after the plant was expected to close sometime in 2019. The fate of this plant was originally announced, blah, blah, blah. UAW is striking to preserve fair wages, affordable health care, profit sharing, and job security, among other things. Organizers are assigning 6-hour shifts that cover each entrance into the Detroit Amtrak plant, and the shifts are running 24 hours a day. This series of... Oh, man. Let's pop some of this up so people can look at these guys. Dude, I'm a huge, one of my favorite things about American history is the labor movement. That's one of the most fascinating things. In the after the Civil War, you kind of started to see it ramp up, and you see it coming into things towards the end of the century and the beginning of the 20th century, the industrial workers of the world with Eugene Debs, the Pullman train car strike where they stopped out all the trains. Dude, people don't really realize the things that we have, like a 2-day weekend, an 8-hour shift, safety regulations like equipment and fire escapes, holidays, paid leave.
Was from people striking.
From people striking, from people protesting. And people don't understand how bad it got. There were riots. People were murdered, the Haymarket Square riot.
I think it's intentional that we don't really understand, too, because they, the powers that be, don't want us to, do.
Well, we can't have these kids getting funny ideas.
When Reagan what did Reagan do? He fired all the airport workers that were on strike or something. And was just fuck you.
Yeah, he pretty much shut that down and deregulated the air.
That was kind of the death to the power of unions and stuff.
Yeah, that was the figurehead event, but it was going on bigger and smaller scales all across the country. The thing is because it was airports and airplanes, it had a transcendental effect on the whole society because it interrupted travel and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, I remember when I was working at Assa Abloy Curry's, I was trying to get a union in there because they had us working 12-hour days. I mean, the conditions were unsafe, the repetitive nature of the work.
I worked there for 1 day.
Yeah, Johnny worked there for one...
Dude, they treat you like shit there, dude.
Dude, they don't give a fuck. You're cattle.
I would... Yeah, it was like being in a prison, man.
Yeah, I worked there for 3 years.
Then they give you 27 minutes to go eat lunch, and it takes 5 minutes to even get to where you need to be.
They don't even give you a 30-minute lunch break.
And if you're 10 seconds late, dude, they're fucking pissed.
Yeah. See, I was kind of smart. I was able to finagle my way into jobs that weren't as bad. I started out there doing packaging for parts, which is a pretty gravy job. There's never any overtime. And then they started having me stack stuff. And then they wanted to teach me, and I could do some spot welding, but they wanted to teach me more advanced welding, which I would have got paid a lot more. But I realized...
Would you have gotten your welding certification?
No. This is spot welding, so it's it's like a manufacturing line with a big press. Each thing does a different thing, and it goes down the line, and you go... And they wanted me to start doing more advanced things like that, adding hardware, and then also get... And I would have got paid considerably more because it would have been a higher rated job. But I realized, if I know this shit, they're going to have me work all these extra shifts.
Yeah, and it seems to me, they take advantage of people who, need the job because they have families to support.
Yeah, they do.
That's how they force you into this stuff. They know you're going to do it because...
You need the money.
Yeah. It's really fucked up.
And my experience was there, they started doing 12-hour days, and I took a bunch of... I came in, I said, I'll do 10. They're like, no, we need you for 12. I said, I'll come in, I'll be here at 5 in the morning. I'm not coming in at fucking 3 in the morning, dude. I'm not. You got to get up at 1, you know what I'm saying, in the morning, to be to work, and then you're at work until fucking 3 p.m.
Yeah, it's bullshit,
it's ridiculous. So I kind of did a little solo strike before we even started getting the union in. And I'd come in at 5, and I'd get written up, and I got written up 3 times for it. And then they put me on unpaid leave for 3 days. And it was really cool because even though I couldn't get the other workers to do it, some of them did do it. They took vacation and stuff, so it wasn't the same thing. But when I came back from losing all that pay, they knew I had a daughter that was like a year and a half, 2 years, and I was in college and stuff. And they pooled together and gave me like $200.
Oh yeah,
so,
I
like,
remember that.
to make up for the wages and stuff. And then we finally managed to get like 20 or 30 of us together, and we had the International Brotherhood of Boilermakers come in and help us organize. They were standing at the gates handing out flyers. Pretty much what we were trying to do is get enough union cards signed, organize enough people in the thing so that we could have a vote that would allow, there's a vote that allows us to say we want to have a vote on a union.
Yep.
And, dude, it's fucked up because I was running around, you know how short the breaks are and how hard the work is. On my break, I was going around like, hey man, let me talk to you about the union. And people were starting to kind of come around because these guys were burnt out for years, man. They've been working there 30, 40 years, and they saw it slowly go doot. Their benefits go down. One of the things that they did is they changed the vacation benefits. How it was is like you'd work a year, and then you got paid your benefits, right, essentially. But they switched it to accumulative for the year. So, like, now you have to, like, once you've worked 2 months, you get a week. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
it's
I
kind of
see
like
what you're
that.
saying.
But what that did is it doesn't sound like a big deal on the surface, but what that did is all these guys that have been there 30, 40 years, it took the year of vacation that they already earned and threw it out the window.
Yeah. That's
So now if they quit, usually if you quit, you get paid back your vacation because you've already earned it. So it completely stripped away that. The benefits for health and stuff were going down. It was just all the long hours and shit. And they were completely fucking up the plant trying to get it roboticized. Or what's the word? Automated? Roboticized. But
pretty much is what
yeah,
it is.
so there was all these things that were going on, and I was starting to get a movement of people coming in there and put a lot of work into it. But you know what they did? They had this woman who's like specialized in union busting come in.
Yeah.
And they had this
To
captive.
freak people out.
And they had this, and also to kind of appease them, like come in with a couple of them and like take notes. What can we do to make it better? And one of the things that they did this captive audience thing where they played Reagan era anti-union propaganda, and it was like the cheesiest shit I've ever seen in my
But
life.
people bought into it, right?
But after that, I'm like, dude, and they're like, is what they say true? Like, all this shit. I'm like, dude, did you see this fucking thing? It was like from 1979, bro. It was from like 1984 at the late. It's like, you guys are, and then that kind of just put a damper on it, and then it never ended up going through. And then they knew I was a troublemaker, so I was a minute late one day. Literally a minute, like because I had to ride my bike, and it was in the winter. Had to ride my bike on the highway.
this.
Yeah, and then they fucking, I was a minute late. Right. And I even got to my station before because I was on an automated line and I stacked rail. I was there before anything started, and then they fired me for that. And it was pretty cool. I worked with this guy. His name was, what's that fucking, his name was Michael Fox.
Okay.
So I always called him Marty McFly.
Yeah.
And he's like this, I loved him, dude. Me and him had a great time. He was this older dude, chronic alcoholic Irish guy, and like had no teeth, but he was a badass. He always used to, he always called me Miles Deep and shit, because I don't know, it was an awesome guy, but he showed up at my apartment one day with a bottle of like really high-end scotch.
Yeah, I remember that too.
Yeah, and it was all wrapped in, he had it wrapped in newspaper cartoons, because we had like, I can't remember the joke now, but we had an inside joke about that shit. So it is a bunch of good guys on there, and he even had it sealed with a Boilermaker sticker. I love that guy, dude, because I think he might have, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to say anything, but I think he was a little on the job sometimes. But he used to do this thing where he would fucking talk about the IRA, like the Irish resistance. He'd be like, I don't even know, dude. He'd just get like, you know about the IRA, son? And like he's like, my daddy used to fucking like telling stories how his dad used to like wear a ski mask and like roll in the streets with AK-47 and shit. Yeah, like in Northern Ireland.
Yeah, because they were kind of like a terrorist group in a way, weren't
They
they?
they were. A lot of people don't realize that. Dude, that only ended in like the 90s.
Did they like kill a prince or some shit?
They did a lot of shit, dude.
Yeah,
They were badass because what it was is.
Well, they were like essentially like standing up against the UK, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean, it kind of gets. and religion is part of it, but it kind of gets characterized as like a Catholic versus Protestant thing, and that was definitely fueling it. But it was more of the UK, because they're part of the United Kingdom, just the UK, Britain, doing, what's the word? God, my fucking head's fucked up today. Not authoritarian, but whatever. They were just kind of doing things that weren't beneficial for the Irish and stuff.
Yeah.
And they just weren't having it. And like there was a time period, like through the 70s especially, you'd have like a British military pillbox on one corner, and then down the street you'd have an IRA like fucking blockade.
Huh.
And you know, they disarmed in the 90s, and there's like a peace treaty and stuff, but something like 30,000 weapons were never accounted for. And you know, the Irish just like stashed them everywhere.
Well, they're probably like in the Irish government, I'm assuming, right? Like,
yeah. It's I wish I should read up on it more and like better explain it sometime. But it's just interesting because I've actually saw what with Brexit going on and stuff. The British government is doing more shit to the Irish, and the IRA is like talked about like making a comeback and shit. And I don't know.
That's crazy.
It's pretty wild, but fuck, we got way off subject. Yeah, I was gonna see if I could pull up some of these. Yeah, these are fucking badass, dude. See, Johnny, I would love to do this. Like, if this channel can really take off with your guys' support, one of the things Johnny and I have talked about doing is maybe going around the country during if we start making money from this, going around the country when there's stories going on, like say this General Motors strike, or if we ever have another Occupy Wall Street, another Dakota Access Pipeline. Like, one of the things Johnny and I would like to do as the channel takes off and we have some disposable income to invest in this would be to go around like places like this and get some film footage, get some interviews, and stitch it all together and have another show besides just a podcast on here for you guys.
Yeah, that would be.
That's definitely like a long-term. That's like a 5-year goal, I guess. It's way down the line, but yeah, look at some of these pictures. We're out here to preserve our livelihood and preserve the middle class, allow our child to live a comfortable life like we have. UAW on strike. Yeah, just anytime I see like protesters and especially labor movement stuff, for me it's mostly to just be part of something greater than myself. My great-grandfather worked at General Motors before and after the union.
See, yeah, this is like why it's so fucked. Like, these people have been really loyal to the company too. Like,
yeah, they've been here generations, some of them. Like, ooh. So
yeah, it's ridiculous.
I am here for my family. That's my number one goal. I want to be able to further my education. I want to be able to provide for my kids. These are great pictures.
Where's Trump during all this? Come on. I thought Trump was gonna.
I thought he was for the Rust Belt and shit. Why aren't you putting these? Why aren't you helping? I thought you were gonna stand up to the corporations and make sure that jobs stay in the United States, brother. But hey, not just you, Trump. We're looking at you too, you fucking establishment fucks in the Democratic Party. You're not doing your job either. I ain't seen any of you motherfuckers out here. You ain't sending pizza, you ain't sending money, you ain't done dick. Maybe, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit of lip service, like, the workers need to stand up for their rights, but please, listen to reason.
Well, yeah, or Joe Biden, he's the big union guy, but then he goes and fundraises with union busters.
Does he?
Yeah.
Is that something that's happened recently? I mean, I know he's had a career of that.
Dude. Yeah. I don't even really like to talk about Biden at this point, like he's going to win, because
we'll have to show people.
He fucking gets it, dude.
I'm going to... dude, it's weird. I had this... You were talking about you had a weird dream last night. Anyway, hang on. I'm doing it for the people coming in behind us to have a better life, better education, and things like that.
Well, and something else they do is, like, older employees are treated differently from newer employees and, like, get, like, different benefits.
Yeah.
I read
seniority.
Something about that.
That's how it is anywhere.
Yeah, but the seniors are, like, fighting for the newer ones. So the newer ones are getting screwed.
Oh, I see what you're saying. The people who have seniority have grandfathered shit.
Yeah.
So they're still getting
something like that.
Their shit. See, that's smart on behalf of the corporation because that divides them between new workers and old workers.
Yep.
But
but it's not working.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
The poor temps, those people are treated like dogs in here. They have no recourse.
Yeah, they're the temps. They call them
temp
temps.
workers. That's what that's another thing that they were doing at.
Well, yeah, that's
another thing they're
what
doing
I
at
was.
Curry.
Dude,
Yeah.
they throw you to the fucking wolves. Where if I had a business, I would start someone out slow, so you like build them into it.
Yeah.
At Curry's, they fucking just toss you to like
dude.
one of the shittiest jobs, and they're
Dude,
like, "Oh yeah, by the way, you
matter
gotta be
because
here."
you know what? Here's the thing. One, it's unskilled labor. Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna close this out. But the first thing is it's unskilled labor, so it doesn't matter if you're stacking rail and lifting shit. Then what do they got to train you? It takes 20 minutes to show you what to do.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. You can just cycle them in and out. And these temp services like Express and Kelly Services, there's so many people that are like either new convicted felons or they're migrant workers or they're just so desperate because of the way that our economic
Exactly.
system, they have no recourse. So they will come
You
in.
need desperate people to work these jobs.
And here's the
Bullshit.
thing. And because of that, it also... having temp workers, these people are desperate to hopefully get on and stay on, so it turns them away from a union. Okay, it turns them away from organizing, and it also, dude. Here's the thing: it's just a lot of the way that business is arranged now. It's good for like short-term profit margins, but in the grand scheme of like what's good business, it's bad.
Well, because CEOs, like, there's a book about it, but CEOs pretty much exist for their own benefit nowadays. Like, they don't.
Yeah.
Where it used to be like they cared about the company.
Because the way that it is now is there isn't really like mom and pop companies anymore. And to bring it back to Curry's was named after Jerry Curry. Okay.
Now it's owned by a multinational.
Assa Abloy.
corporation.
It was sold by like another, which is a Swedish company that does like fences and doors and locks and like all kinds of shit. But it used to be like a company. You know, and people had a stake in it, and it just, the guy running it had an incentive to make it not only profitable, but to keep workers and to have a community sense around it. But the moment you sell it off to a multinational, and that's kind of perpetuates
They're not
this.
from here. They don't give a fuck about us.
Yeah, and that's kind of what perpetuates the CEO disposable culture, is they don't actually care about this company at all anymore. They just care about the big company that's behind all the other companies, the firm.
Like, my grandpa worked for Lehigh,
Yeah.
and like they were treated fucking good. Like, even like
Before it was sold out
even
to
the
Wholesome.
widows of guys who worked there who died, they would still like send them stuff on the holidays, like the widows.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, yeah. It
Oh,
was a way
like people
different-
that died on the job and shit?
or
'Cause it-
just died.
in general.
Yeah, maybe they even retired and died, but they still cared about.
Yeah, they took
Does
care
that
of
make
people.
sense?
Yeah, I see what you're
It's
saying. Yeah, man.
Not like that at all anymore.
the greed has just completely devoured this
Now, I'm
country in a way
guaranteeing
that's
the owners of Lehigh were filthy fucking rich still.
yeah, they had plenty of fucking money, dude.
It doesn't. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
You know, dude, we are in a really fucked up time. If you take a minute and you look at all the issues in politics, the divisiveness in politics, the conglomeration of wealth and power in companies and corporations, and the handful of a few number of people in the hands of a couple of firms. But not just that, not just the political stuff, not just the labor stuff. If you look at the way that our culture has developed, I mean, like, look at the music. You know, like hip hop's a good example. It used to be like really, in a way, a working class civil rights music
Country.
of struggle.
You listen to
Country.
country music, dude?
And like, I know there's probably some EDM fans out there, and like, look, I'm not trying to bash on that genre of music, but it's reminiscent of disco in that it doesn't really have any substance. It's just. And then you look at the things on television, like shows like Teen Mom and fucking MTV Cribs, and I mean, just take a long look at our culture and our society and our institutions and what we picture as the American dream now compared to what we pictured it as 30 years ago, and just our appetite for war and our apathy to violence. We've become this immensely decadent society that
Well,
when you
literally,
get
like,
past the gilding, it's rotten through.
Every popular song is about like making money through doing bullshit and like doing drugs.
Yeah.
Like, be it rap, like country is about drinking and driving your fucking truck. Like, dude, I have to hear country all the time at work.
Yeah.
Dude, almost every song talks about driving their fucking truck
Yeah.
and drinking and hot women. That is modern day country in a nutshell.
And there's people that would say like, rap music's always been about doing drugs and stuff. But dude, no, it wasn't necessarily about doing drugs and like it was about a lifestyle of like living big because you came from fucking nothing. But it was more about selling the drugs because the selling of the drugs was your way out. But these older rappers from the 90s and stuff, they also understood that it was a vicious cycle and they called it out for what it was.
When it was like poetry.
Yeah.
Now a lot of rap is. Dude,
it's got that exact. Every single rap song has that thing.
Syrup.
Yeah, like all it's Bugatti, Gucci. Whereas, I mean, dude, and you can even make a case that trap music is. I can respect trap music in a way because, dude, I think trap music is like the heavy metal of rap music.
Well, in a lot of music, it's like about beats. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm guilty of liking some of these songs because the beat's good.
I mean, dude, I'm not against beats
Yeah.
But it doesn't have any substance. And here's the thing, like, I don't want to shit on EDM and stuff because, like, I don't want to be the guy that, like, doesn't not embrace, but I don't want to be the guy that's like, oh, back in my day. I don't want to be that, but, like, dude, guys, those people that listen to EDM and stuff, like, you can't deny that it's all about a decadent, drug-fueled culture. It's like an end-of-the-days Roman Colosseum fucking style of music. And it's all about wasting your life away with drugs.
I'm sure like, with some EDM that there's some meaning to it, but the mainstream.
I mean, I like some of it that's like a little bit slower. I mean, like, I'm not here to shit on the whole genre. I'm just taking a broad cultural, like, dissection of it. And it's just, it gives me cause for worry, man. And here's the thing, for, like, EDM might be good and stuff, but bro, you cannot. I'm sorry, even the best EDM that's out right now, whatever it is, I don't fucking know. It is nowhere near on par with the music that's come before. And it's not on par with the new musicians that are out now doing good music with like actual instruments and stuff. Like, I can't. How does EDM compare to fucking the Sex Pistols? How does it compare to AC/DC? How does it compare to Black Sabbath, to Led Zeppelin, to fucking Pink Floyd? Like, you name it.
I really don't like EDM, so.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you cannot. It is just not the same. There is nowhere near the amount, and this isn't to shit on artists that produce EDM and shit, because I know they work hard, and I know that I respect any amount of creativity, but like, you can't put it in the same box of effort and creativity and synchronicity as a whole band starting in their garage and working their way up to do these fucking beautiful shows with music that has so many layers and everyone has to play. Like, it's just culture. It's just not on the same level. It's cheap, in my view, and I guess that's the point I'm trying to get at. In our culture, not saying our political institutions and, you know, our corrupt billionaire system, just our culture is so cheap now. I don't know what to think of it. It makes me, it's kind of depressing a little bit, you know what I'm saying?
Want to talk about Saudi Arabia?
Well, before we get into that, since we're kind of talking about the GM strike and stuff, have you read anything much about Whole Foods?
I know they're like cutting health benefits or something
for
part-time employees.
Whole Foods.
Which, Whole Foods used to be a great place to work.
Until
I knew when Amazon bought it, or Jeff Bezos, right?
It was just a matter of time.
Now, is it owned by the corporation Amazon, or is it owned by Jeff Bezos? It's owned. Which is the same thing, but not really, you know what I mean?
Yeah, who owns all...
Yeah, Amazon does.
Amazon does.
Yeah, because you can, like, order
Okay.
Whole Foods and like to your house now.
Yep. Which, I mean,
I gotta say, I've been to a Whole Foods. We don't have one here, but it's fucking awesome. But it's expensive as fuck.
But here's the thing: it was still awesome before Amazon bought it.
Well, that's why
you know
people,
what I'm saying?
Well, yeah. No, if anything, it's going downhill because of Amazon.
Yeah, that's the case with anything. Is these big mergers happen, and then why, you guys? Let me at least read. It's probably.
I mean, just disable ad block.
Yeah, but it was fucking up because you know how our computer is.
Well, also, I'm sick of the New York Times and these fucking websites wanting to charge you to read the fucking articles. Like,
I mean, bro, I get it. But let us have a free one here and there. But I guess we probably do have a free one here and there, but you're on the computer all day, so you probably use it all up every day. Like, I guarantee that's why. Whole Foods, whose owner Jeff Bezos is worth $115 billion, is cutting health care coverage for part-time workers. Up to 1,900 workers are losing medical benefits to better, quote unquote, to better meet the needs of
with a
business.
single-payer healthcare system.
Oh, it wouldn't matter.
Yeah, it wouldn't matter at all.
It wouldn't, like... As many as 1,900 Whole Foods workers will soon see their medical and health benefits eliminated. Thursday, currently Whole Foods employees worker, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. According to a Whole Foods spokesperson, the supermarket chain is making this change, which the company said will affect under 2% of its 95,000-person workforce, in order to better meet the needs of our business and create a more equitable and efficient scheduling mode. Oh, wow, that's... Okay, never mind. It seems like good business to me. The spokesperson noted that the part-time employees affected by the benefits cuts will receive, quote-unquote, resources to find alternative healthcare coverage options, or can explore full-time healthcare
See,
eligible
it's like,
positions.
even if we had a public option, this wouldn't be a big deal, but we can't even fucking do that.
No, these people are fucked now.
Yeah. They're...
My only hopeful saving grace is that if they're working part-time like that, they will hopefully be able to get on state Medicaid. But it's just more of the shit, dude. This is what happens when you don't have unions. This is what happens is when you take the corporate dick for several decades. Dude, we started this podcast kind of talking about the labor movement a little bit and how people fought and died. Dude, going back to that quick. It wasn't just riots and protests where a few people got shot. Dude, there were in the fucking, I want to say in coal country in like Virginia, West Virginia, and Pennsylvania and shit, and also in the steel industry. Dude, do you know where the term redneck comes from? It comes from the labor movement. The laborers would tie red handkerchiefs around their face and neck.
Really?
Because they were like vigilantes. And dude, if you go into the hills over some of these old coal pits and manufacturing areas, you can go up in the hills and you'll see government-made pillboxes from the early 1900s where they set up machine gun nests and there'd be crowds of people and they were just...
What the fuck?
Like, people got fucking murdered and shot to death by the government in order to give you a weekend, in order to give you health benefits, in order to give you holidays, in order to give you a safe workspace. And over the last few decades, they've stripped all this away, and they've gotten it to the point now, they've stripped enough things away, and they've got enough of a stranglehold on our government and our democratic process that they can start peeling back all the shit that your ancestors fought and died for. And it's disgusting. But looking at things like this GM thing, I think this is the biggest strike that we've seen in a long time.
Oh, it is.
You know what I would love to see? And this is how you get real change done. This is how, like, Sweden, Denmark, Norway became more socialist countries where people have more say in the government and in business. It's also how Iceland did it. I would like to see this GM thing. And I don't want to use these workers as a means to an end. That's not the point. But I would like to see these companies not give what they want. And I would like to see this GM protest, because they're getting all these other manufacturers, workers coming in now too. I would like to see this spiral out and then see telecommunications, fast food workers. I would like to see it develop, especially since election season's coming up and this is the perfect time for it. I would like to see it develop into a nationwide general strike where people in all sectors of the economy are just like, I'm not going. If enough people do that, dude, you can't find enough scab workers. And here's the thing, what the biggest key piece to it would be rail yard workers, airline workers, and truckers. If they get in on it, the system shuts down. Think about this for a moment. How much money do you think gets lost, say at Curry's, if we go on strike for one day? How much money do you think gets lost?
Hundreds of thousands of dollars, potentially.
In a day.
Yeah.
Right? How much in a week? Millions. Mm-hmm. And that's just one factory, right?
Yep.
Now, what gets all the factories and all the agricultural goods and all the groceries, what industry interweaves all of it? Shipping and transportation. Mm-hmm. How much fucking money do you think gets lost if unionized shipping workers, being truckers, planes, rail, if they all stop? You can't even fathom the amount of money.
Well, and they should, because once automation takes over,
Yeah, now's the time to strike.
yeah.
But yeah, dude, you can't even. It's like probably $1 million in a minute. If it, like I'm saying, in a big general strike, if everybody stopped and just was like, no, we want better wages, we want you to pay your taxes.
That's the thing. People are afraid to do it, though.
Yeah, but I know, and unfortunately, but yeah, if they did that, dude, it's millions. It's probably $1 billion a day that is lost, because then all the factories, all the farms, all the supermarkets and fucking retail stores, they all aren't making money. You know what I mean? It all just shuts down. And that would be so amazing to see. I guess I just mostly want to get out in the street with an angry sign and throw fire at military police.
Yeah, right.
Dude, I just recently I've been really listening to Rage Against the Machine. You know, I always listen to punk music.
Yeah.
But that song, Guerrilla Radio, where it's like, wake up, turn that shit up, Guerrilla Radio. And I'm just like in my head, I'm like throwing bombs and shit. but you know, obviously you're not going to do that. But yeah, man, this whole foods thing, this is just like I said, it's just another example of corporate America stealing from workers. They're going to develop a class where all the rich people are living behind walled buildings in these fucking beautiful suburbs, and the rest of us are living in slums. Picture how it was.
Like India, essentially.
Yeah, picture how it was in like the 1890s and all the vision of like the slums and like all this crazy fucked up shit. It's going to be like that, but like technological.
Yeah.
So like everybody, because they'll be smart. Everybody will still have internet and like phones and shit, but we'll be living in these hovels, and this will be like our thing, because they know that that's a good control mechanism.
What's that one movie about VR where they go into the game?
Ready Player One.
Dude, yeah, that was actually like
that was a poignant movie, dude. I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's literally how he's living in that city of high-rise trailers.
Yeah.
I thought that was so cool. That was such a cool perspective on like white trash in the future. Like just funny, quirky kind of. The trailers are still there, but they just stack them up on top of each other. But yeah, that's a pretty realistic thing. You know, everybody goes to work for it'll be 12 hours, and then they come in and then they go fucking Matrix and plug into the shit, and then they can be whatever they want. Yeah. Have a 12-inch dick and fucking millions of dollars and a Bugatti and fucking a whole harem of women and shit.
Meanwhile, the world's...
Yeah, and then meanwhile in your neighborhood, it's like...
Yeah, right.
Fucking bombs going off because there's like hoodlums and... You know, you know that movie Children of Men?
Yeah.
That fucking vision of the future... I think, obviously the premise of like women not being able to have children is kind of like a little bit outlandish, but the way that it visualized, you know, a dark ages in human history where, I don't know if you realize this, but like every country in the world is collapsed. America had like a nuclear war and a revolution, so it's all destroyed. The only country left is Britain. And everyone's like trying to get in Britain because it's safe there, and so they have this huge refugee crisis, and climate change is a factor. The imagery and the way that's shot and the universe that they create through film with that is just, I think, a pretty accurate depiction.
I need to rewatch that movie. It's been a while since
Dude, watch it. Like, sit here and like watch it on the computer, like with the headphones in, and really get fucking absorbed into it, because it's fucking dead on. But yeah, next thing, we kind of touched on some of the labor things that are going on a little bit. Biggest thing in the news probably right now, other than probably something crazy that Trump said and the football, like we were talking about to keep us distracted, is the U.S. accusing Iran of Saudi and oil gas strikes. Do you know anything about this, really, Johnny? You can share, like, how did this start out? Where did it pop off?
I just know, like... Some government officials, I don't know if it was Trump that said it, is like saying it's their 9/11, which is crazy.
That is already quite a stretch of the imagination, because it's not a fucking... the World Trade Center was a privately owned building, but it was essentially a public space.
Yeah.
So it's nothing like
that.
Then
I actually do have a quote.
Okay, dig that fucker up.
Guess who is saying this? This quote is from August of 2014. Okay. Saudi Arabia should fight their own wars, which they won't, or pay us an absolute fortune to protect them and their great wealth.
Who?
Donald Trump.
Okay.
And then here's his tweet from September 15th of this year.
Okay.
Saudi Arabia oil supply was attacked. There is reason to believe that we know the culprit, are locked and loaded depending on verification, but are waiting to hear from the kingdom as to who they believe was the cause of the attack and under what terms we would proceed.
That's Trump too?
Yeah.
Oh.
Pretty different.
There you go, middle America. I mean, we are middle America.
I mean,
but what a
that's
flip-flop.
why Trump won, is talking like that. He didn't win.
The first one?
Yeah.
Yeah, no war, reigning in corporate power. Dude, I mean, I don't want to sit here and like bash on Trump, but how do you, I mean, why would you think that this guy was going to do the things that he said he was going to do? I just don't understand it.
I mean, I just see the formula. I mean, we had Hillary fucking Clinton as the nominee.
I mean, I see the
Bernie was essentially
circumstantial.
robbed. People were pissed.
Yeah, I see the circumstances, but still, I'm just like, how could you possibly? You want to know how far gone American democracy is sometimes? Or that I think sometimes? Is one guy that I worked with last election season. God, I worked at that job a long time. But he, in a very proud way, said that he was talking with his daughter. They were about to go to the polls. And he asked his daughter, he said, well, who should I vote for, Hillary or Donald Trump? That's how he made his decision.
Yeah.
And that's not the first story I've heard like that.
Yeah, man, I don't know.
That's how apathetic, complacent, and calloused people are to the political process. And I can't blame them, because it's been 50 years of fucking bullshit. It's been 50 years of bullshit. If not more. And people are just burnt out and they just don't care anymore. And here's the thing. You couple that with years of cutting back the education system and then putting them in a position where they got to work so many jobs, there's no way for them to stay informed. I mean, the people that rule this country have made a perfect fucking storm to keep people out of revolution. And it's fucking sad. But anyway, this shit with Iran, we've covered some of the things that have been going on this last few months on the show. This isn't going anywhere anytime soon. They want Iran. They want its resources. They want its markets. And I'm talking about the banks and the corporations. And they are going to use America to fucking get what they want.
Yep, even though, like, Yemen is actually claiming they're the ones behind the attacks. But, you know, it very well could have been Iran, because Iran, like...
It's possible.
But, man, I don't know.
It makes more sense that it's Yemen, because Saudi, for those of you who don't know, Saudi Arabia is fighting, like, an essentially...
The thing is, who funds Yemen
could be Iran.
That's the
Could be
that's
Iran,
the thing.
Russia, China.
But, like,
could be
what
Iran.
are the Saudis doing to Iran? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's geopolitical. There's layers to it. But anyway, it doesn't matter what the cause is or who did it. The way that our defense infrastructure and personnel are trying to spin it, they want us to go into war. They want to make money for weapons contractors.
But we stopped the nuclear deal, so then they can start building a weapon again. So then when we're like, oh, they're building a nuclear weapon.
WMDs, brother.
Well, they're scared shitless of being overthrown. Like,
yeah. I don't know if I talked about this on the podcast before, but everybody knows who's listening to the show by now how often the United States has backed coups or financed rebels in order to overthrow a government and establish a new one that'll be more considerate of American business interests in the area. So we know that Iran is essentially an authoritarian state. Like, it's not a gem. We're not sitting here saying, Iran's a wonderful country. It's a modern country. The people there are intelligent. But we know it's got an authoritarian government that strips the rights of women. They just recently, Iran executed a few homosexuals in a public square. We know they're fucked up.
Yeah.
But the thing is, because they're an Islamic state, before, I can't remember the years, but before the Iranian Revolution, the Islamic Revolution in Iran in the 70s, there was a U.S.-backed dictator who lived like a fucking king, a sheik, and the people, it was an authoritarian regime just as bad as the Iranian one is now, but it was sympathetic, just like Saudi Arabia is, to American business interests. So what happened is you started to see a lot of revolutionary groups arise in Iran to try and take back democratic control. And you had a lot of different factions. This is how it is in revolutions. A lot of times people just think it's one side in the revolution. A lot of times there's socialists, there's trade unionists, there's radical religious people, and there was communists and socialists and social democrats and Republicans that were trying to overthrow the government and establish a democracy in Iran. One of the most powerful was communists, and this is during the Cold War. So what the United States did is they funded the right-wing radical fundamentalist Islamists, and they pretty much stamped out the communist revolution or the socialist revolution in that country. And then what we ended up with is a authoritarian fundamentalist religious regime that you see now that doesn't let...
Well, literally, there was a professor in Iran, and he predicted that it was going to happen, and you know how he predicted it? He asked the college kids what they thought was going to happen. Mm-hmm. And, yeah. So, college kids are normally pretty in tune with, what's going to happen in society way more than, the adults.
Because they're paying attention. Because they're young and they don't have vested interests yet. And they're trying to shape the world to how they would like it to be. Yeah, so, I mean, dude, if you look at half of the world's problems, it's either the creation of the United States or the Western powers in general. All of it. And it's for, back then the greed of noblemen and kings and all that. And now the greed of corporate society. And the corporations are essentially the feudal lords and barons of civilization now. And they've completely bought and sold it. It's unfortunate. Well, let's see how we're doing on time here, Johnny. I know I got to get on the road soon, so we're doing about an hour here. One last thing we'll touch on is, have you seen, they're talking about, the Trump administration is talking about internment camps for the homeless?
See, dude, I was listening to something about this.
Is it sensational?
I don't know. Because Trump wants to... He said, I know we talked about, L.A. and how it's fucking terrible. There's a huge... Yeah. Which it is. It's not he's wrong.
Yep.
But we should, fix the causes of these problems, not just be just round them up.
Yeah, I know. It's
fucking ridiculous.
It's kind of scary, man. I don't know. But then at the same time, this is going on is California. I think the House passed a law for rent controls.
Well, and who's making all the money from these fucking camps, dude? I guarantee you there's a private contractor making hella money
private
from
contractor, and
refugees.
Then also... And yep, there is.
Now they're
for
what
the
else
immigrant
can we do?
crisis.
Homeless.
Yeah, good business. It's the same people that run private prisons.
Yeah,
and they're going to make a killing from it.
Fucking ridiculous.
And that's probably why Trump's pushing for it. He doesn't give a fuck about the homeless. It's not about that. But the California rent control passing the House, that gives me hope. That's something that we need to see across the line, dude. Rent is out of control. People cannot make ends meet. Dude, rent, when they look at, I don't know how they look at this exactly, but when they look at, the average income and, how much something should cost, it should be 1/3 of your income. Dude, it's getting to the point now where it's pushing not just half of your income, but 2/3 a lot of times. And it's fucking... It scares me, bro. But the thing is, because, dude, how long until it reaches here? We're kind of lucky in the Midwest. Rent's not that bad. But it'll catch up, dude. It'll catch up. But seeing things like the California House getting past rent controls, I just know if we can get Bernie and progressives in after that, after he's president, and then in the next election cycle for the House and Senate, I know we can get some of this legislation passed.
That's the thing. I think if we got Bernie and he actually accomplished things for regular people, people would have more faith to vote for Democrat progressives.
Yeah.
Because, I mean...
It builds a movement.
It's not like the party has earned these people's respect. They fucking sold us out.
Yeah, for decades.
No wonder people aren't turning out to vote for them.
Yeah, it's a real fucking mystery, ain't it?
And they're pushing fucking Joe Biden they learn...
Who's literally a senile, probably fucking pervert.
Yeah, but then they call it the most important election in our history.
Yeah.
It's fucking ridiculous.
It is, dude. It is. I don't even know what to say about it, to be honest. It's fucking frustrating. But guys, we're reaching an hour here. I have to get on the road. I got a 3-hour drive ahead of me, so I'm sorry it's a little bit shorter, but I think it went okay. I think we talked about some things.
I say when we do the next one, we should do a longer one.
I will try to get it written out for you guys. I'm sorry. I'm trying here. It's tough. If you want the content to get better, hit the subscribe button. Like, if you really want it to get better, come check out my writing on my Patreon. Like, you know, there's a $3 tab, a $6, $10, $15. I'm posting new stuff all the time. If you know, 20 of you that are subscribed go and just read my poetry, which if you're liking the show, a lot of it's working class stuff, struggles with addiction, just social commentary. It's not like cheesy ass poetry. She left me and then I was sad. It's not that shit. It's like fucking visceral. I'm not saying it's good. That's up for you to decide, but it's the poetry a lot of times that I do is about the sort of things that we talk about on the show. But I mean, really, like, if 20 of you guys subscribe to the $3 to the $10 tab, I don't have to work a job. I can make ends meet through, like, doing a side hustle like DoorDash and the income coming from the Patreon and then eventually sponsors on the show, to where I can sit down, I can write a show twice a week and we can get shit done and it'll be better. So if you want to help us get better, consider doing that. But all right, this has been Here We Are Podcast, episode number 12. Like I said, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, comment, share it to your friends, help us get some new subscribers. Like I said earlier, to support the podcast, subscribe to the Patreon at patreon.com/double_D. There you can access all of my written work, including poetry, flash fiction, and full-length short stories, all for less than what you spend on a cup of coffee every day. To further support the podcast, check out Bingley's Teas at janeaustenteas.com. There you can find high-end teas hand-picked and mixed by the lovely Miss Julia to satisfy that deep tea addiction. Or visit Julia in person at 118 East 26th Street, suite number 208, to be taken on a tea tour of the world. All right, guys, we're going to send you out with a little bit of Enigmanauts. We're going to do a sad song. I love this song, though. All right, this is Enigmanauts. You can check them out at enigmanauts.bandcamp.com. All right, guys, take it easy. It's been nice hanging out with you. Bye.
I'm staring into the rain. I don't feel anything, but I know that I don't know, and I know that I don't. I'm staring into the rain. I don't feel anything. No, I don't feel anything. I'm just staring into the rain. But I know that I don't know, and I know that I don't.